Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Live's favorite Raiders podcast, favorite Raiders channel, favorite Raiders everything. We are back. You already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at mholder95 for Matt, and also Panda Supplements, pandasubs.com, discount code TDL. Go ahead up there and support that. All right. So we are training camp day one. It's already past us, man. I mean, when people hear this training camp day one, it might be a little bit of training camp day two.
The season is here now. Yeah, true. It will be.
Yeah, the season's here, man. We're in a good spot with the season. So it's everybody's playing football for the most part. I think everybody's in camp. Every team is in camp.
Except for one guy.
Oh yeah, well. For us, yeah, Josh Jacobs didn't show up to camp. Of course, you all knew that though. That's kind of official. He's not coming in the preseason, so he's not going to be there. And then, but everybody else is there for the Raiders. Jimmy G popped up. Made his debut out there today. It wasn't very good reports they tried to play it down. I don't know if you saw any of that, Matt, but you see his reports.
I didn't pay attention to him too much just because, like you said, this is his first practice back. Like, got to ease him back a little bit. But yeah, I didn't seem like the greatest day. But I mean, the one good news, the one silver lining on it is like they said he's going to be like a full go, like nothing holding him back. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess with a quarterback, that kind of is a given. But again, a positive step in the right direction. That for a quarterback that a month ago we weren't even sure if he's going to be able to walk properly.
Yeah, seriously. Chemistry is going to be, something they got to build on for sure with the offense and them getting on the same page. But, it is kind of interesting for them to be sloppy because a lot of these guys are in their second, they're all talking about in the press conference how, yeah, man, everything's going so fast for us and they're playing a little sloppy. It's like, that's interesting. It is something just to notice, in my opinion. I feel like, if you're going to put that out there as a report, and you feel like it's not a big deal, don't put that out there, in my opinion, because that's just not something you want to don't say at teams, because nobody else is saying that these teams came out with a sloppy practice. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to say. So
this is usually the time of year where we get like all the hype training camp videos, like for all the rookies and all that stuff, all the new acquisitions. Like, oh, look at this pass on air. So yeah, when the first report from first practice is sloppy, it's not what you're hoping for. But day one. Everyone's getting new. It's transitioning. We got to be positive in here, Marcus. We're too negative, man.
I'm saying, honestly, just don't tweet that out. Just say it was a normal practice day. Everybody's trying to get on the same page. You put sloppy, like, bro. That's just like I was. Oh. It just caught my eye. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But. Jimmy G's there. He had his little press conference. They signed Marcus Peters, which we're going to get into. We're going to do a little Marcus Peters film today. So we're going to look at Marcus Peters as well, who they signed. And then, of course, some other news that's happening is all the defensive tackles are injured. Not all of them, but it's a joke. But
it's one of those things I'm like, I can't tell if that's like a good thing or like a bad thing. I mean, I'd obviously love to have the guys been there, but it's like, I mean, all right, if Neil Farrell can't play this year, it's not like Neil Farrell barely played last year. It's not like they're missing like a showstopper out there. But yeah, like starting with two guys on injured lists, and I mean Farrell landing on NFI. One, first thing that popped in my mind, keeps popping in my mind with him is that weird like week where him, like Cleveland, Farrell, and I think it was Butler too. They all got were healthy scratches for what like McDaniel said, like disciplinary issue or something. I don't remember the exact term it was, but it was like he said it's not anything on the field. Yeah. And then he gets on the NFI, which means he got hurt outside of their normal team activities. Maybe he got hurt training or something like that, which is what you hope for. But when you hear no news, that's usually not a good thing because again, that's something where an agent's usually kind of try and get ahead of that story and be like, oh yeah, he was running a 40 or something like that and pulled a hammy and he'll be good to go. But not exactly a good sign. And then two, on top of that, they signed Kyle Pecco. Again, I'm speculating here. I'm just kind of reading between the lines. Nothing's been reported or refuted, but not a great sign that, they put one guy on an NFI list as soon as he gets to camp and then bring somebody else in. That tells me that they're not exactly confident he's going to be back anytime soon. And then maybe it was the combination. I'm missing two guys and they need another camp body, but yeah, not exactly a hot start for the defensive tackles, which was already a thin position for the Raiders.
Yeah, it's not a hot start at all. Even Byron Young, I keep doing that. Byron Young is when Byron Young is injured. I mean, he's
Yeah,
on the pup list. He's not getting those reps early on, but he might be back soon. Who knows with that, or how much he's going to play in preseason now? Is he going to get a lot of preseason reps
good
with
point.
that being on the pup? That's going to be a interesting way to look at what's happening with him, because I think he's a little bit of a bigger factor to me than Neil Farrell, because I think they want him to play with how high they drafted him, and
Yeah,
where they drafted him in the third round. I mean, usually that high in the third round, you're getting kind of the second round fall off guys for you. So they actually felt like they had some kind of a higher grade on him than most people. So they had a higher viewpoint of what his potential is this year. So for him to be injured, I mean, it's probably nothing big because he's just on the pup list and it's beginning at training camp. He could come
yeah,
back in like a week, right? But it's just the Neil Farrell one is the worst one, though, for sure. The NFI,
yeah,
we don't know what it is, and they're not going to tell us. So
yeah. And Byron Young too, like with him, like one of the things like you're talking about, like I think I said this last time, like he has the most potential to me to become the most complete defensive tackle as both a run defender and a pass rusher. Like he's got upside athletically, like that's what we saw a little bit this past year at Alabama. But at the same time, he needs to be on the field getting those reps to be able to reach that potential. And starting on pup isn't ideal, but hey, again, at least his was pup, meaning that he tweaked something or whatnot during team activity, so it's not like he's you know messing around or whatever in the off season.
yeah, I mean when he's not messing around, maybe hopefully not. Maybe it's like something that he's doing kind of that's like a
Right.
smaller thing, or maybe he's working out. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's just not. It's not good, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a good look at all, for sure. All right. Any other training camp nuggets that we heard or anything like that? Nothing really big. You know.
About it. I mean, cornerback room got a lot better. Marcus Peters, I think, bringing him in. Go over the film here in just a second, but I mean, we were talking about it last time. They didn't have an alpha dog, and got the guy that has 32 career picks that should hopefully fit in nicely with the Raiders. It's been an issue for them the last couple of years where they can't seem to get their hands on the ball. And I mean, McDaniel's talked about it in the combine, wanting to get guys that can make plays and create those momentum swinging plays. So that's what Peters can do.
Yeah, and I think Marcus Peters can come. I think he'll come in, and from what I saw in some of the film that I saw, I thought that he played a lot better in zone than he did in man. I think he's still, in man it's gonna be a little different for him, but I don't know how much the man they're actually gonna play this year. Because I went back and watched Duke Shelley a little bit. He plays a lot of. He played. They didn't play man. They played a lot of quarters, but
Mm-hmm.
quarters is basically. I mean, it's like
It's
zone man.
man with rules.
Yeah, man with rules, right? So they play a lot of quarters over in Minnesota. So I think they're gonna come over. They'll probably play a lot of quarters. They did in Baltimore. They played a ton of quarters. They played a ton of cover six. Didn't really play that much man at all last year. It was a lot of matching, a lot of quarters, a lot of things moving around. That's why Joe Burrow had such a difficulty with them. So I think they're gonna play more zone to start off this year, and maybe I don't know. Maybe they come back in and they play man like they did at the end of the year, but I think they're going to find a way to kind of play the quarters too high, the cover twos, those type of things. Because I feel like they're building a lot of corners who can do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, I think Peters definitely felt like watching him, and we'll get into this in a second. And felt like he had the same thing. Not quite the same athlete he was, maybe a few years ago before the knee injury. Is 30 right now, so not exactly the same player, but again, a good zone corner who I think, like you said, played in a complicated system last year. Graham obviously runs a complicated system. I think he'll be able to pick it up quick. Obviously, being a vet too, hopefully he can bring some of those other guys along with him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely. Somebody like Jacorian Bennett, those type of guys, or even Nate Hobbs. Who not talk about Nate Hobbs is out because he got a softball injury or whatever. They hit in the face with the softball, but
Hey,
it's just.
as a rec league, beer league slow pitch player, like that's legit, man. Some of those guys, they piss on those balls. Those big dudes, like there's not a lot you can do at that in those situations, man.
Hey,
But
hey, man. It's not a bad injury, right? He didn't like tear ACL or anything. He just got hit in the
no, yeah,
face. They're probably just keeping him out for a little bit, but he'll be back, and then he'll be in the mix too. I think him for Tyler Halls could be interesting. Just from watching Nate Hobbs last year, he didn't play well at all. So I wonder how high they really are on him. So it's gonna be to see how those guys mix in. Tyler Hall versus him, or is Tyler Hall going to start and he backs up Tyler Hall? How does that going to work? So, but Marcus Peters kind of, Brandon Facyson kind of gets, just to get pushed down a little bit, even though I looked at he has the highest cap number of some of those corners. So I don't know what their viewpoint on him is. So
higher than David Long?
Yeah, higher than David Long, higher than Duke Shelley too. 1.5 cap number. Duke Shelley's like 1.2. So
we're talking about $300,000.
I mean,
when you said higher, I thought it was like a difference of at least $1 million. Okay, but 300,000, that makes a little more sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think the highest corner is like $2 million. So
it's Peters now, right? Because Peters, I think his
deal $3 million. Our $3 million corners, you got a cornerback room of $10 million worth. So
there you go. Hey, Peters can earn up to 5 though.
Oh man, it's just, I don't know. It's interesting how they use this cap, because we did talk about how they gave Jacoby Myers a restructure before we get to Marcus Peters. Yeah. They gave Jacoby Myers a restructure. He hasn't even played it down, right? And a lot of it's because that Jimmy Garoppolo contract. They took away sign bonus, kind of ruined like a lot of their offseason, in my opinion. They couldn't sign nobody after that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough spot. I mean, again, Jacoby Myers, I'm excited to see him play, but it did feel like, what are we doing with our money when we already have Renfrow and a lot of money tied into Renfrow and Devontae? But who knows?
that $11 million was two linebackers for $6.
They weren't signing. As much as we want to talk about it, let's be real. They weren't signing a linebacker.
I know.
Like, they didn't sign. They signed Spillane, or I'm probably butchering his last name, Spillane, whatever it is.
Spillane.
And then didn't draft one until the 6th round. Like, as much as we want to say they could have poured into a linebacker, like, it just never was going to happen.
His cap number is a good $2 million, man. Good $2 million linebacker right there. As a starter. Okay, all right. Let's get to this Marcus Peters, man. Let's pull up this film. Let's break it down and check out his game.
All right, let's see.
Boom.
There we go. Now we're gasoline.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Go ahead. Just start.
All right, so Marcus, one thing I think both of us were talking about a little bit is with Marcus Peters obviously being a veteran, a little bit better in zone coverage. And one of the things I noticed on film, I don't know if you saw this too, is like he kind of started making a lot more of those heady veteran plays. Like this clip right here, the situation is it's obviously, I believe it's first down, but there's about 20 seconds before the half. The Patriots trying to score. And one of the biggest issues Peters would face, you see him up there at the top of the screen, is against double moves early in his career. You get a little aggressive, try and jump them, try and go for those picks. But here you're going to see that one. Again, knows the situation, gives up this out. As long as we tackle this guy in bounds, or even if he goes out of bounds, it's still 15, 20, 10 seconds for the Patriots to score before half at the 50. So he's going to stay there, stay at home. And then this is the part that I love. Back this up a little bit. Once that guy breaks up towards the out, he closes the gap on him, gets physical, looks back to the ball, and withdraws for an incompletion. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest things that I noticed about him is, one, he's being a lot more patient than he used to be. And two, we're seeing this good angle to cut this receiver off, use the sideline as his friend, and then look back for the ball too, a little bit heady move to not make sure you don't get that PI. Again, know the situation, know what the Pats are trying to do there. This next one, another one in zone. I'll pause it here and let you kind of go into it too. Is one of the things I love. This is what you're talking about a little bit. This like a little zone match, cover 3 right here. Slant, inside release, passes that bad boy off. And then 2, what I love about this is actually, this is a fire zone. So we got Jason Oweh, a natural pass rusher on Hunter Henry. He's a good tight end, an athletic tight end. And he's going to pass this guy off, pass Parker off, running the shallow, and immediately go pick and find this tight end to go help out his teammate. Again, it's a matchup the offense wants.
Yeah.
We got a veteran corner out there who knows what he's doing, and he's going to go help his teammate. Especially with the young linebacking core that the Raiders are going to have this year, I feel like that's going to be big and be huge for him.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge, man. That's what I'm talking about in zone coverage. He's pretty good, man. That's why Baltimore was able to be so stout. Maybe he can get all those turnovers, but you can see why it was hard for teams to pass on them, right? It was
Yeah,
they're so sound, and he understood everything that they needed to do in the scheme. And this is a brand new scheme last year,
Mhm.
so that's
Right.
what you like to see.
And the one thing I was curious about, and was on your opinion, his footwork and press coverage, like this one,
Yeah.
like that's the one knock on him, like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of I'm like kind of like steps inside of himself and false steps a little bit with that inside foot instead of
100%.
turning his hips and opening wide. And like I don't know if we'll see one necessarily on this clip, but like that would cause him to get beat a little bit. And that's what we're talking about. Maybe his press coverage is not quite what it used to be. Like we'll see him on this rep. He's going to line up and press again. He's going to get beat a little bit by Parker off the line. Having to play from the trail position, and like just it's kind of like an awkward release from the line of scrimmage, right? Just kind of trips all over himself. Again, steps inside of himself instead of turning his hips and running out. But
He did not stay square at all with him, trying to didn't.
Yeah.
He kind of now he didn't open the gate fully, but like he it's like he was. I don't know. It didn't look comfortable, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it just didn't look pretty. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to look good when we're out there. Like Dion said, you got to look good, play good, right?
Yeah, but you could kind of see that he's kind of opening the gate there because he's not square when he comes out of there. Like it's the gate's open. It was open a little bit, and I don't. Sometimes you're like, is that coaching? But maybe it's not. But you don't want him getting beat by Devontae Parker like that, kind of.
Yeah, getting beat off the line. It's not exactly ideal, but again, hey, at least he stays in the hip pocket, keeps his eyes. This time he's not on top of the route, so when he's playing in man, so he keeps his eyes on Parker, stops, and that's part of those ball skills that we can see. See it a little bit better from this end zone copy right here, where he's going to get that hand involved and make that a uncontested catch. Mac Jones with that beautiful accuracy that we saw from last season too. That helps. But even so, like hell of a rep for a guy again that got beat off the line, honestly. And this is the Devontae Parker special with the back shoulder fade. So nice rep against a quality competition.
Yeah.
All right, I think this is another one we got. Oh yeah, I remember this play. So this is another situational football again. What we got? 3rd and forever. This is late in the game. Ravens are up 2 possessions. Pats are trying to make a comeback. Obviously playing with a ton of cushion here, like he's coached to. A little bit of prevent defense. Running cover 3. Now I will say, the linebacker coaching me is screaming at these dudes to sink more and go help on this dig.
Yeah,
and that's kind of why he gives it up a little bit. We do get back in the picture at least a little bit. But then here's those turnovers. And what I like, we'll see it from the other end, from this copy a little bit better, is he's the first tackler here, but we've got 1, 2. Well, this guy's on his back. 1, 2, and 3. We got the triangle right here of the back with the deep safety. So he knows, hey, this situation, we're up 2 possessions, excuse me. It's late in the game. Let's create a turnover here and try and seal this game. I think the Pats ended up recovering. But again, that's more that vet savvy awareness where knows the situation, knows what he's going, and creating a turnover opportunity for the defense, which the Raiders have struggled to do the last few years.
Boom, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And in a little less – go ahead.
There's not as many turnovers for him this year because I really feel like he didn't take as many chances, to be honest. And they played so much zone. Like he just –
Yeah, that's also true. Well, and two, although I will say in this game, like specifically, he had this forced fumble, and then he had a recovered fumble earlier, and then a pick to seal it. Which the pick was honestly his worst rep. It was just a terrible ball by Jones.
I do. I watched this game.
Yeah, and then so it's like he's still around the ball. He's still making plays like we're used to seeing from him.
Yeah, for sure.
This one against our good friend Amari Cooper here. Oh yeah, this is the trap coverage. Here we go. So yeah, a little trap coverage here, a little nuance to the game here. Now I will say on this one, I'd like to see him carry Cooper a little bit further down the field because he kind of comes off early, but at least executes it. And I like too how he stays patient right here, right? He's not just going to come crashing down on that flat, and then give Deshaun Watson more reason to believe that this is open because again, it's hard for that safety to come over and make that play. So he's going to sit there at the 15, get some good distance. And the ball's inaccurate, but he's right there at the catch point. We'll see it again from the end zone copy.
Yeah.
And right about here.
I mean,
if this is an on-target throw, like you can even see it a little bit here. What's he going for? Where's his eyes?
Ball.
Right on the hands.
The ball.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
gonna make a play on that.
I still don't know how Watson did not throw that ball to Cooper, but hey, man,
Hey, that's the beauty of the trap, right? Like
yeah,
he sells it at least enough.
enough, right?
But yeah, that ball should
Oh,
have gone to Cooper.
right there, right there. I mean, yeah,
And then,
I mean, he's getting back to it. He's getting back to it. Get back
yeah,
to it.
exactly. I mean, that's trap coverage right there, right? That's half of
Yeah,
it. You're just trying to confuse it.
yeah, because he could have got picked too, and I'd be like, it sounded like an idiot. So, all right, next rep, let's go.
Let's go. Here we're going against Harrison Bryant, a little bit bigger of a target, a natural tight end. Got a little smash fade concept, running the fade from the slot, and then the dig to the sit route. And what I like here, we recognize the route and make that little move around the 10 to see it go from the 10, get wide, or go from the 11 to get to the 10 to get wide and avoid the contact. Knowing full well he can still drive on the route. And two, the same thing as last time. Instead of just, crashing downhill and hugging this guy up, he at least gives the illusion that the route's open, maybe to bait that throw, get a PBU, and make it 2nd and 10, keep the offense off schedule, then scramble drill. And one thing I love about him, you kind of saw this in that rep on that out and up we showed, I think was the first clip, is he's really good at using his hands, especially in man coverage. Right here, we're going to see him hug this guy up, which especially against a bigger body is key to get into that guy and make sure you're making the contact with him first. And then 2, pass gets complete, but we're right there to go make this and go knock this guy backwards, who I think he's given up about 30 pounds to. So
Yeah.
nice rep here. Let's see.
Hey, I see you did what I did, was go to his PFF grades and went to his games.
Yeah, went to his best games. That's how I usually like to watch it when I'm like trying to get hyped on a guy a little bit. I'll do it with draft guys, just kind of, you know what I mean? You got to watch the good stuff first and figure it out before you.
This is funny. This is the same thing I did. Yeah. This is funny. All right. What else? Is that it? So,
all right. That's the last clip I got. But.
All right, perfect. So yeah. What were your overall thoughts, Matt? What were your overall thoughts on Marcus Peters?
I mean, definitely, like I said, definitely not quite the athlete he was before. Probably a little bit age, probably a little bit the knee injury. Not a great combo to have. But again, if Patrick Graham's going to play a lot of zone, which he did at the beginning of last season, then I think it's definitely going to be a good fit. I mean, we saw him, execute similar coverages like that trap coverage to cover 2, which Graham loved to run in New York. So I think he can be a good fit. Again, a guy that creates turnovers. And I mean, we kind of talked about it before he got signed last time. Like the Raiders need an alpha dog. They need a guy in the secondary that can create turnovers, and they've been missing that guy for the last couple of years. And that's exactly what they got. Probably argue that nobody's better at it with his career over the last 8 years or something like that. 32 picks. I'd be surprised if the Raiders had that many as a team in that amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know what you mean with that. I think with somebody like him coming in and just being a veteran, I think he's going to be a good player for the Raiders. He's still a good corner, in my opinion. I don't think he's a bad corner or anything like that. It really doesn't have bad tape. I think the man coverage, I think it is hit and miss, but I just hope they just kind of use him like the Ravens did last year. The Ravens really did not let him play man coverage that much. I don't know if you watched the Carolina game, but he played a little bit against Carolina, but there's some good plays there too, where he was able to, have some pretty good press coverage plays where they played a little bit man in there, because all the Panthers did was run the ball last year, so they didn't have to play zone. So they played a little bit more man in that game. So if you wanted to get some more man reps, kind of get an idea, it's a good game to watch. And I think he was a little hit and miss there. He loses some guys. Terrence Marshall got him a couple times. So I think that's kind of where maybe they want to stay away from. But you can see the zone stuff is fine. I mean, he's good in the zone. And like it's not like at all. There's no problems there at all with him. He's going to be sound there. He may be really good there, right? If they could find ways to, and he can make some plays and he can get healthy, he might be really good there in zone coverage, right? So I think that's the element he's bringing to me, and you can kind of tell he's playing more of a veteran. He's not taking many chances, all those things. Yeah, I mean it's a good signing, man. It is a good player to bring in for sure.
The biggest thing that makes me worry is kind of like what you're talking about. Like if they're going to want to play press man, like they did at the end of the season, Like that's not that great of a fit because, like we were talking about before, his footwork's not quite there. And I feel like that we're one of those reps. Like he's playing instead of playing with leverage on one side, like he's playing like straight up, giving the guy a two-way go. Which, especially if you're not moving quite as well, it's not exactly how you want to do it. But I mean, as far as man coverage goes, yeah, like his change of direction is not what it was before. Like he definitely takes more rounded cuts. Guys that can, be shiftier and quick at the top of routes are going to get him. But the one thing I did like, and I kind of talked about it, is when he can use his hands, when he does kind of get away with that little bit of illegal contact, like, and not necessarily beating the dude up, but when he can, get physical with the guy, he was a lot better. I mean, we saw that with Harrison Bryant, a guy that he's given up, a lot of weight to, and he's able to still stay in phase. So I think that's the one silver lining about him, man, is he's got good use of hands and he knows how to use them, right? Which again speaks to the better nature of where he's at in his career. But
yeah. He's a Pro Bowler for a reason. I think that it kind of you see it on tape why he's a Pro Bowler. Might not be the same guy. Could be like a Casey Hayward type of thing, where if Casey Hayward maybe wasn't the best man coverage guy anymore, but he could play some damn cover three. So
sure. For sure.
Could he play some cover three? Yes, he could. He could do that damn well. And I think that's where Marcus Peters has come in. And because to be honest, when I watched the film and I went over the defense last year, I just don't understand why they kept playing man defense. Like,
I legitimately think it was just simpler. Like, it was just like they got to a point where like these guys are dropping like flies. Anthony Averett goes down in week 1. Nate Hobbs is down in week 6. Like, we got Sam Webb out there who's an undrafted D2 free agent. Like, let's just play Dat Cat defense. I got Dat Cat, you got Dat Cat, he got Dat Cat. Like let's just make it simple.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I also feel like Josh McDaniels took over a little bit too. I think that he came in there, was like, let's do simple, let's play some more Belichick type of defenses where it's like, it's really man. It might look like cover 2 at first, but we're gonna play man. And then I think it really just from going over the whole season, I really felt like I was watching 2 different defenses. So
you just said 2 things that trigger me about Josh McDaniels. 1, him being a control freak, which I 1,000% agree on, and 2, just trying to replicate Belichick. It's like
that's what they look like. They look like the Patriots. At the end of the year, they look like the Patriots defense. They were doing Patriots defensive stuff. So at the beginning of the year, they look like we're Patrick Graham because we're Steve Spagnuolo. They look like Spagnuolo's defense. They're doing like cover 2. They're doing that little fancy stuff that Spagnuolo does. And then the year went along, I'm like, well, that's Belichick, what they're doing. And honestly, I thought they like played better game plan wise, but you just can't. Those guys play man, they're gonna get burned eventually. Like, it's just that's all it was.
When we're talking about them spending $10 million on the cornerback room, you can't play man every snap.
You can't, you know what I mean? So like that's what I just thinking of the defense, and I wonder if that is a dynamic too, like how much how much does Josh really head coach Patrick Graham? Does Patrick Graham have the ability to go out there and just do everything he wants to do, or is Josh just like, well, I mean, to stop me, if I was doing this, you would stop me, I would do, is he like, kind of in that system doing those things? Because I just from watching from week 1 to week 8 to from on, that is 2 different defenses schemes.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see what they do this year. That's why I'm interested to see, like, is it back to what Graham does, or are we still doing this Bill Belichick
because
type of stuff?
Again, like you said, Graham in New York was a too high cover 2 fiend. Like, he loved running that stuff, and he loved running it and he loved like spinning guys and putting 3-4 safeties out on the field. But again, I think at the end of the year, the Raiders just didn't have the personnel for that. Especially, we barely talked about the safeties this past summer, or this whole summer. Like, that's not exactly an ideal group either for him right now. But
yeah,
so we'll see. I mean, I like the Peters signing. Think it'll be a good fit. I just hope they play a lot more zone than they did, because if they're going to play press man, it could look ugly pretty quick.
It can get bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, just play some quarters. Duke Shelley's a great quarters guy. Put him some quarters. Yeah. He can do that. He can do it. He can get it done. All right, Matt. Quick show today. Training camp started, and hopefully you get some more news, some more nuggets for this week. I don't know what we're gonna get. Hopefully, we don't get a sloppy practice. Hopefully, get some. That was just a terrible thing to tweet out. It just made me feel icky.
Who was that?
Reading it. Big Taper too. It's just didn't make me feel good inside about what's happening. You got a new quarter. It was sloppy. Like it's just, I don't know. It's real. I appreciate the realness, but man,
yeah, day one.
I mean, you couldn't.
Yeah, Vic's never had a problem being a little brash and a little honest. So.
Like you couldn't say inconsistent. You could just like it's the wording. You could have said an inconsistent day. I would have felt better. You dude said sloppy, like they couldn't get. They couldn't. He was dropping snaps and stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The Heat's making Vic angry. The Heat is getting the Vic already on day one. He was tweeting out it's like 97. I'm like, brother, I'm glad that's you and not me, because that would be brutal, especially out there at that facility. There is no shade.
No, and I have no idea why they're not inside. Like it's just like, what are they getting ready for? Like nobody who plays in the AFC West, like Kansas City's cold.
They play Los Angeles in the dome. Games inside.
Yeah,
but hey, you know what? You gotta brave it out. You gotta test it out and see who wants it the first few days.
You're right. Make people sweat for no reason. Just see what you got. Have the sweat in your eyes. Because I played football in Arizona. Man, that is terrible. It is terrible right now. You're gonna have all these things happening. It's hot. You sweat in your eyes. Ridiculous. So I couldn't even imagine. Las Vegas is basically the same. I couldn't even imagine like NFL doing that.
Bro,
you know, their practices are easier. I don't know.
Yeah,
one day, Matt, you gotta go to training camp with me. You're gonna watch it. You're gonna look at me and be like, bro, if high school practice was like this.
I went to camp in Napa one time, like as a fan, and it was. I mean, yeah, it was definitely like a little bit like, and that was in the Jack Del Rio days. Like, it was like a Sunday where like half the veterans were having days off. I'm like, damn, man, like, why couldn't we have this in high school? Then again, I was also never running a 4.4 or anything like that, so I probably needed it.
Easiest looking for practice I've ever seen, bro. I was like, is this practice? What are you guys doing out here?
Well, part of it's the rules too, man. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like everything's like you can't do doubles anymore. Like, that's just nuts. Like, I remember in high school, like, just dreading. Like, I'm sure it was even worse for you, like in the Arizona heat, like when it's like 100 in the Bay, and you're just like, got a double a day. Like, imagine like getting to a point where you can make money and you don't even have to do that anymore. Pretty nice.
Yeah, it is. All right, guys. We'll get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Marcus Peters breakdown and some of our thoughts on training camp. Like I said, hit the subscribe button, subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it, hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Get that content up, join the memberships. Like I said, the season are gonna be revving up. Preseason's coming up. You're going to get all those breakdowns inside of preseason. When the All 22 comes out, we're going to hit you guys with all those breakdowns of the plays and all that good stuff. So just make sure you guys subscribe to us, get that film, get that film going, and, become a sicko with us. All right. I'm out of here. Peace.
I guess.